Considerado por el New York Times como uno de los autores con más ventas en el mundo, su libro, Tú eres el placebo, es uno de los 20 más vendidos en la historia. El doctor Dispenza ha estudiado neurociencias, bioquímica, quiropraxia y neurología. Lleva años dedicado a la investigación de cómo funciona la mente y lo que es capaz de ocasionar en el cuerpo humano.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
Hola, Verónica.
¿Cómo estás, Joe?
Muy bien, ¿ustedes?
Bien, también. It would be great to do the whole interview in Spanish.
Yes, one day.
One day, in the future, near future.
Yes.
Bueno, y como les decía, vamos a tener que hacer esta entrevista en inglés y en los próximos días va a estar traducida al español. Igual háganme llegar sus preguntas que yo se las voy a hacer al doctor Dispenza para que ustedes puedan después tener las respuestas. Joe, we're living such a strange, weird time, weird circumstances. Our life has changed from one moment to the other, and this generates, of course, a lot of anguish and stress. How does this affect our body and our immune system in particular?
Well, stress is the number one indicator that weakens our immune system. And when we respond to a threat or a danger or some unpredictable circumstance in our life, we turn on that primitive nervous system called the fight or flight nervous system. And its job is to take all the body's resources and use all the body's energy to prepare it for some danger in the outer world. The problem is that the long-term effects of sustained stress robs our inner world for growth and repair, and in our immune system becomes compromised. We have no energy to heal. We have no energy for our internal defense. And so during these crazy times, even though people feel fear and they feel pain and suffering and they're angry and frustrated, it's those very emotions that are driven by the hormones of stress that actually weaken our immune system to foreign agents like bacteria and viruses. By the same means, our research shows that if you trade those limited emotions for more heartfelt, elevated emotions, and I know that it's not easy to do during times like this, that's not natural, but we're not after natural, we're after supernatural. When we feel gratitude, we feel kindness, appreciation, care, something amazing happens. Our immune system starts to upregulate and starts to make really healthy proteins that are antibodies. And those antibodies are the very agents that fight bacteria and viruses. So we can strengthen our inner world by changing our attitude.
Some specific tips to help us strengthen our immune system.
Yes, well, you have three types of stress: physical stress, like trauma, injuries, accidents, loss of sleep. You have chemical stress like pesticides, pollutants, toxins, viruses, bacteria, blood sugar levels. And you have emotional stress, which is finances and children and everything else that goes along with it. And because, yes, of course. And all of those things knock our brain and body out of balance. So if we take care of ourselves more by taking care of our physical bodies, and we do yoga, or we do massage, or we exercise, whatever we need to do, we get our body back in chemical balance, emotional, physical balance, and we take time to eat better, eat healthy, take the right nutrients, take zinc, take high amounts of vitamin C, take vitamin D.
Zinc and vitamin C.
Yes, high amounts. And,
high amounts is how much?
Well, if you took 20 milligrams of zinc twice a day, or 20 milligrams once a day, if you took 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C, if you took 10,000 international units of vitamin D3, those are all things that would help restore chemical balance. Then there's the emotional component, which is the hardest one to deal with, right? During times of crisis, we move into emergency mode, and this is the one where we have to practice our meditations. This is where we have to get into our heart.
Somebody was writing now that it's very hard to meditate now. And it seems somebody that it's used to meditate.
Yes, of course. And these are times where all of the meditation and all of the practice that you've been doing over the years are for times like these. This is you moving from the bleachers onto the playing field. This is the time more than ever that meditation will help silence those thoughts in your brain and teach you how to overcome your analytical mind, overcome the emotions in your body, overcome your environment. And now all the training that we've done are for times like these. And yes, it's going to require us to stretch ourselves with a greater challenge. And no species can evolve unless they are challenged by their environment to go to a greater understanding or a greater level of consciousness or perform a different action or make a different choice. That's evolution, and that's why we're pressed at this time.
How are we going to evolve, do you think? How do you see the world from now on?
Well, I think people have to understand that, yes, there's conditions in our environment where viruses can weaken a person's body, but it may not be the absolute truth. For me, you can make very strong chemicals in your body that will cause you to become resistant to viruses, resistant to bacteria. And people need to know that when they give their power away to something that they fear, what they fear has power over them. And it's the very fear that causes them to become more susceptible to their environment. So it's a change in consciousness now. Maybe we have to change our internal state independent of the conditions in our external environment. And our immune system responds to that. And the real question is, why are certain people being infected and others aren't?
And others don't.
And if the answer is, well, that person may have had broken a hip or hasn't been sleeping or taking too many medications for other health conditions or dealing with rheumatoid arthritis or cancer or has a mother in the hospital or have just lost their job. This is a very strong weakening to the organism, and people are more susceptible to it. So we have to learn how to self-regulate during these times, and it's going to require us going to a greater understanding, a greater level of awareness. And it's going to take some practice, and this is how we evolve. This is the time we negotiated to be here during these times.
And a lot of discipline to guide your mind to what you are supposed to do and think.
Well, here's the cool part. It's the cool part is that you're home. I'm home. You're not going to dinners. You're not going on vacation. You're not going seeing your friends. You're not going to work. Nobody's going anywhere. You have a perfect opportunity to retreat right in your own home. This is a perfect time, and you have to decide, will I emerge from my personal retreat in the comfort of my own home, not seeing the same people, not going the same places, not doing the same thing? Will I fill my brain with knowledge and information, and will I begin to embody the truth of that knowledge by practicing and emerge from this time a more evolved version of yourself? Or are you going to live in fear and live in survival and be victim to the environment and victim to the circumstances and come out more dependent on your environment to control and change how you feel inside of you? And it's a fundamentally important question that we have to ask ourselves.
For somebody that has not been trained in meditation and wants now to start, what would be the first steps to follow?
Oh, my goodness. Well, there's so many different things for us to do. I mean, a simple thing to do is to understand that when you close your eyes and disconnect from your environment, when you sit your body down and it's not smelling or eating or tasting or feeling, you're not hearing a lot of things or seeing a lot of things, your inner world starts becoming more real than your outer world. And our job then is to elevate our state. So what if you started thinking about all the things you were grateful for in your life? Your family, your health, you still have your job, you still have a home, and you just allowed yourself to count your blessings. Simple little process. Our research shows that if you did that for 10 minutes to 20 minutes a day for 4 days, you would strengthen your immune system by 50%. That's a very strong statistic. So why not do something that goes against thousands of years of fear and programming? And yeah, you have to be challenged to do this. And yet, people who do it feel better. And if you keep practicing it every day, you'll just feel better every day, which is what we want for you.
So you're telling me that 15 minutes a day for 4 days will strengthen in 50% your immune system?
That's correct. That's what our research showed. Yes.
Wow, it's very fast.
Yes, it was in one of our retreats, and we were teaching people how to do it. But I'm very optimistic that if other people can do it, anybody can do it.
Mm-hmm. Somebody was asking, what meditation in particular do you recommend for these times?
Wow, there are a few that I just released. Just went down to the studio this week. One is called Falling into Love with Your Body. And the other one is called Empowering the Power Within. These are two meditations that I went down to the audio studio, and I want people to understand how to change their emotional state and how to do it properly. And so these two meditations are designed to strengthen the immune system by the very nature of what I just talked about. So
where can we find them? In your page?
Yeah, I think they're on my website, drjoedispenza.com. People have loved them, and that's why I'm mentioning it, because it's really been helpful for them.
Mm-hmm. Once a day or twice a day for those results?
I don't want people to ever feel like they have to do it. I want people to want to do it. So if you want to do it and you enjoy it and you want to do it again, do it again. I had a friend who's a physician in the hospital in London, and she was really struggling with the COVID, and it really helped her tremendously. She's out of the hospital, and it really helped her improve very quickly. But let's not wait to that point. Let's get to the point where you can right, get to the point so you don't have the condition.
Do you feel fear?
Actually,
or do you
no.
feel anxious at this time?
I don't. I said to my staff when we came back from an event in Germany, and we had the lockdown, I said, I refuse to be victimized by this condition. I refuse to be a victim to the circumstances. Yes, our events are going to change and we have to postpone a few, but let's get creative. Let's find a way to connect to community. Let's find a way to make a difference in people's lives. And in a time of separation and isolation, in a time of quarantine, where people are afraid and they're disconnected from possibility, let's give them hope. Let's teach them how to connect and to practice this work and unify. And so I think people live every single day, Vero, by an unconscious program. If you say to somebody that you love, why are you so unhappy today? And they say, well, I'm unhappy because of this person, because of this circumstance. What they're really saying is some person or something in my outer environment is actually influencing or controlling my feelings and my thoughts, which means that if something is controlling or you think is controlling your feelings or your thoughts, then you're a victim to your environment, which means from a very psychological standpoint, you'll be more susceptible to things in your environment. People who begin to practice and understand that they have a hand in creating their lives, when they change the way they think and feel independent of the conditions in their environment, and they start seeing how their world outside of them begins to open up and change, they're going to start to believe more that they're the creator of their life and less of the victim of their life. So what does that mean? You want to practice something really important? Stop blaming people and circumstances in your life for the reason you feel the way you do. Stop blaming the news, stop blaming traffic, stop blaming politicians, stop blaming your ex, stop blaming people in your life or circumstances, because when you do that, you're giving your power away to change. You're unconsciously saying, I'm a victim to my life, and you will be more susceptible or vulnerable to conditions in your environment. Stop doing that and stop believing in that, and all of a sudden, your response to the environment actually causes you to become more immune to the environment. It's just simple science. And people who practice this, it's not something where you have to go sit in the Himalayas on a cave to do this. You can do it by becoming more aware and becoming more conscious. And that's a great way to look at this pause, this intermission we're on right now, and decide how we can change so that when we walk out or an evolved version of ourselves. That's what I want for everybody.
If we create our reality and we're not victims of circumstances, in a way, has the world created this?
Oh my
we
goodness.
created this?
If I was the creator of all of this, and I was looking at governments, and I was looking at deception and corruption, if I was looking at the environment, if I was looking at how we have perceived what God is, if I was looking at medicine and religion and education and journalism, wow, I'd want to shake things up after a certain point and wake people up and just say, look, this is a time right now where a greater consciousness has to emerge. Otherwise, we're headed for a timeline that doesn't look very promising. So stop action for a period of time, have people stop doing their routine unconscious things and start connecting with family, start connecting with their children, start learning, start reading, start deciding what is most valuable to them. So in a sense, we've all unconsciously contributed to the circumstances by unconsciously living our lives as above, so below, as within, so without. This is something that has to happen for an awakening. And in order to wake up,
it's a wake-up call.
We need a big wake-up call, and this is a big wake-up call. And this is not a time to divide. There are people that are living in fear and living in survival, and then there are great people in the world, common people who are driving people to hospitals, who are donating their time on the front lines. They want to contribute. They want to be involved. That's what we're wired.
That's part of the learning.
That's what we're here to do. Exactly. We're here for that. So be careful about the information you allow yourself to be exposed to. Be very, very conscious. Don't believe everything you hear, and really ask a bigger question. And the bigger question is, am I more unlimited, or am I more conscious as a result of this experience, or will I be more in fear and more unconscious? And I think that because information is so readily available, Vero, I think people are starting to ask bigger questions. And I love that, because there's no other way. When you start getting information, that information is knowledge. Knowledge is awareness. Awareness is consciousness. Consciousness has energy. And now we start changing the energy, and there's got to be a halt. There's got to be something that stops for people to begin to see. So don't make it be about the virus. Make it be about us, what we have to do.
And when we see how the world is recovering now, it's amazing. The planet.
Exactly. Well, great time to be alive, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. And a changing point in humanity, or for humanity.
I hope so. And if this has to happen for us to wake up, then I'm fine with it. But we can't go back to the same world again, and we can't face our current circumstances from the same level of mind.
How is the world, according to your view, gonna be after this?
Well, I think we're living in such a time of polarity. There's such extremes going on. I think people are being stretched. There's so much happening. There's so many things are happening in a short amount of time. And look, I could connect to you in Peru. I can connect to anybody in the world now. That's never been the case, right? So we have this access to enhance community and enhance the way we relate. And yeah, there may be people that live in fear, that are going to be more victimized by the circumstances, and they're going to cling to what they know, and that's fine. That's where they're at in their evolution. And then there's going to be people that are going to say, we can't go back to the same world. We have to be different. And I'm not just talking about germs and social distancing and washing your hands. Those are incidental compared to what I believe we are capable of being as a collective species of human beings that takes care of one another, that loves one another, that supports one another, that informs one another, that encourages one another, that inspires one another, that heals one another. That's the new consciousness that's going to cause this planet to sustain itself, not from the same level of consciousness, because the problem can't be resolved from that level of consciousness. There's got to be a greater consciousness that emerges, and it doesn't take many people. It just takes a lot of people who understand how to self-regulate and to change their inner state. And there's no better way to do it than be thrown in the deep water and say, okay, swim. Okay, you've been practicing. Yeah, I know it's hard to do it now, but if not now, when? Like what we've been, maybe Universal Mind has been saying, I've been waiting for thousands of years. I'm done. You know, this is the time everybody's got to wake up. And hey, we negotiated being here, so we might as well get into it. We might as well go all in and see if we can make change.
There's something amazing that this virus, I think, has taught us. It's solidarity. We have heard every doctor saying that the only and the more strength weapon that we have against this virus is solidarity. Do you consider that this is something that is quite important to learn from this?
Absolutely. I think if you limit exposure to other people and you understand that there is a greater chance of it infecting or spreading by social interaction, then limit social interaction so that you respect your elders, you respect the people that are sick, whose immune systems are compromised. But that's the Band-Aid. That's not the bigger solution. The bigger solution is how we change. And I think that's the greater thing that we should be looking at. And yes, all of those things are important, and I practice them just to respect the process.
But taking solidarity to another level, I mean, this wake-up call could be a way of telling us human beings have not been respecting or caring for each other, have not been caring for the planet. So in this sense, solidarity might be one of the lessons that come with this wake-up call, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when your kids misbehaved, it was a timeout. You put them in the room and they had time to think about it. Well, we're in a timeout. I mean, God, I want to come out of this wiser, more in love with life, more grateful for the present moment. People I know that just say, I'll never take sitting at a restaurant and sitting at the table with my friends for granted ever again, because I was unconscious most of the time. These are value changes that are significant for us. People are healing in relationships because they've had to be with one another long enough to really look and really look at themselves. So in the scope of all eternity, I think it's a really important moment, and solidarity is a great time out. And taking time out is just like your kids. You're in a timeout, take a time out and think about what you're doing. Think about your life. Think about what's important to you. And I think most people are doing that. I think a lot of us are doing it.
Mm-hmm. One practical tip. What do you do when fear assaults you? In the precise instance that you find your mind going into, what am I going to do now? What's going to happen? I'm not working. I don't have an income. I might be infected, all those thoughts that are like a chain, one leads to another.
Yes, well, we've done extensive studies on this, because the arousal of those hormones causes you, in the infinite number of possibilities, to a solution to the problem that you're perceiving. Most people in that state cannot see a greater possibility. In other words, the emotions that they're feeling are influencing the worst case scenario in their mind. When you feel fear, you get ready for the worst thing that could happen. And when you start doing that, you imagine something really, really terrible happening. And then as a creator, because we're wired to create, we start to emotionally embrace the outcome of that specific event. We're feeling the fear of the event before it's even happening. And the body is so objective. It doesn't know the difference between the real life event and the event that you're creating by thought alone. To the body, it's believing it's in that future, in the present moment. And it's what starts the conditioning process. Thought, feeling, picture, brand, and emotion, stimulus and response. and you subconsciously start programming the body into fear. So the practice of that over time in survival begins to cause the person to rely on that emotion to feel. Now they're dependent on fear to get an arousal to wake up. So our research shows that if you taught a person how to just become conscious of when they're doing that and teach them that they actually have control of that thought that's connected to that feeling, stop that thought, relax their body, turn back to the present moment, self-regulate, slow their breathing down, open their heart, and then their body may do it again. Well, that's because they're in the habit of doing it 50 to 100 times a day. They're reliving that worst scenario. So this is where our work becomes very unusual, because many people don't want to work that hard. They don't want to. They'd rather take a drug. They'd rather have a drink. They'd rather get on their cell phone and call somebody or text somebody. They want to be distracted than face that feeling. And yet, if you put a person and you teach them how to do this, and they practice it, and they keep practicing it, and you know this because you've actually participated in some of our workshops, there comes a moment where, just like training an animal, you're telling the body to stay in the present moment, in mind and body. Sooner or later, the body is going to surrender to a new mind. And when that happens, there is an instantaneous release of energy. The person now is freed. They're no longer living in the predictable future, the familiar past, and the body relaxes into the present moment. And the side effect of that is this incredible feeling of joy. And that's the natural state of being. Yet, we have to work on overcoming ourselves. And that practice, then, is why we use meditation. And we have so much research to show you can be old, you could be young, you could be rich, you could be poor, you could be sick, you could be healthy, you could have never meditated before, you could have meditated for 40 years, you could be slim, you could be overweight, you could be vegetarian, you could eat anything you want, doesn't matter. It's this, people, once they learn how to do it, they really learn how to take that same principle with their eyes open in their life, and do it with their eyes open, so they're less responsive or reactionary to their environment. And of course, that's freedom, and that's what we want for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Some quick question from the public. Does fasting help to elevate your immune system, to strengthen your immune system? Yes.
Well, it's a funny question, because it depends on the person's health. If the person has been eating really poorly for the last 15 years, and they start fasting, the wastes and the toxins that are going to be released from the cells during that time is going to be a lot for the immune system to process. And yet, small intermittent fasting, like eating for a specific time, say 10 hours, that part of the day for 10 hours to eat, and then taking 14 hours and giving the body a chance to rest, that intermittent fasting tends to work well. And not eating for 36 hours once a week, nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to do a long fast during these times, you may actually wind up feeling worse, because you may already have a lot of toxins and waste that actually have to be eliminated. So I wouldn't do anything extreme right now. I would stay within the measure of...
Somebody asked, is dancing a kind of meditation?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anytime you're present, and anytime you're engaged, and anytime your heart's in something, movement, dance, walking, breathing, making love, it's all a meditation when you're present.
Mm-hmm. It's so important to be right here, right now.
That's all we have. That's all we have.
The present moment.
That's
the generous present moment.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You have been for the first time in Latin America when you came to Peru last year. It was like 1,500 people in your event. And then we went to Colombia, and there was 2,800 people and 2,500 in waiting list. What does this Latin America new market means for you?
Well, gosh, Vero, we see that in every country that we go to now. I mean, it happens in Germany, it happens in Australia, It happens in the UK. It happens in Mexico. I think we have something really unique. South America, to me, I've always said Latinos and Latinas, they have such a great balance between their head and their hearts. I mean, both men and women, and there's such a simple understanding of information. And a lot of the things I teach, I think, are already part of the culture. And I was so honored to be in South America. I've gone over the last 25 years or so, but I hadn't been back in a while. But we had such a great time. I thought that people really responded well. I think we'll keep going back. I want to provide people with the resources and tools to apply to their lives. And I had so much fun, and I had fun in Lima also. And what a great place to visit, and what a great place to help people.
And we're almost, if things go well, going to have you back here in June.
I want to come back for sure. I want to come back, yes. Of course, we have work to do.
A lot.
Yes.
A final message, Joe, for people who are listening to you?
Yeah, I do. I would like people to understand that they are greater than they think, more powerful than they know, more unlimited than they could ever dream, that we are not confined as human beings to these bodies of ours, that we have access to a resource of energy and information, and that people around the world are doing amazing things. Blind people are seeing, deaf people are hearing, people with stage 4 cancer are healing themselves, and it wasn't easy, but they're doing it. And because they do it, it makes it easier for us to do it. We have scientific evidence to show that you can change your gene expression, you can strengthen your immune system, you can elongate your life, you can make your brain work better, you can make your heart work better, you can increase energy in your body, you can change how you release neurotransmitters. These are things that are the side effect of a change in consciousness, a change in awareness. And evidence right now is the loudest voice. It's what people respond to. And I just want people to understand that just a little bit more knowledge about themselves, a little bit more knowledge about who they are, about their bodies, what we're capable of doing, that this intelligence lives within us. And when it's in balance, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we've been resistant to all kinds of bacteria and viruses. We have to give our bodies a little bit more credit and believe in them a little bit more.
Just for the people who haven't been to your events and don't know, you are talking about the people who have I'm going to say it in Spanish for the people who are listening. Mm-hmm. Hay mucha gente que se ha curado en los talleres del doctor Joe Dispenza de enfermedades distintas, desde cáncer, en fin, de enfermedades neuromusculares y diferentes tipos de enfermedades. I was explaining that there are a lot of people that have got cured in your events, and people that maybe didn't meditate never before, no? People that did it for the first time and they got cured. So this is the enormous power of your teachings. And what would be the book that you would recommend for somebody who hasn't been in touch with your work yet?
Yeah, I think
wants to get in touch in this precise moment, no?
Yeah, I think Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself is a good book to start my work with. The meditations that go along with it are easy to understand, and it's a good basic place to start. And a lot of people do start with Breaking the Habit, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Joe, and hope to see you soon.
Vero, it's always great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Nos vemos, Chao.
Nos vemos. Chao. Esta información precisa que ha dado sobre las meditaciones que él recomienda, que están en su página, el libro que recomienda para empezar, el hecho de meditar a diario por lo menos 15 minutos y ese hábito y esa habilidad de que cuando nos asalta el miedo, la angustia, dejar de pensar y volver al aquí y a la hora, concentrarnos en las sensaciones, qué estoy viendo, qué estoy mirando, qué estoy sintiendo aquí, ahora. No preguntarme sobre el futuro, porque eso angustia, porque no tenemos ningún control sobre el futuro. Y como él dijo, el único momento que tenemos verdadero y real es el presente. Así que todos estos datos se los vamos a pasar por nuestro Instagram para que ustedes puedan tenerlos, tanto la dirección de su web como los libros que ha recomendado y las meditaciones. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos. Les mando un beso, que duerman bien, a ver, prueben meditar. Ya saben, hay meditaciones en las páginas del doctor Dispenza, pero hay muchísimas otras meditaciones también en internet que pueden ir practicando, y básicamente es cuestión de centrarnos aquí, ahora, respirar, dejar de pensar. Eso es lo que le da descanso y paz. Descanso al cerebro y paz a la parte emocional. Les mando un beso, que pasen una buena noche y nos vemos mañana. Chao, chao.